What are the six? The six are part of the darkness. Not the darkness, like some people, especially if you're into Carl Jung, darkness is basically just unconsciousness, not knowing. The darkness I'm talking about is malevolent. So that's what the six are. In the past, I've told you that they are similar to the ring wraiths of Lord of the Rings. Beings that have just fallen into so much malevolence that that's all there is. There is nothing but malevolence. So the question is, well, are the six archons? No, they're not. What are archons? They are malevolence. But not every malevolence is the same malevolence. It's not like one unitary thing. Malevolent beings are very egoic. So one malevolent being looks at another malevolent being and they don't feel like they're unified. So they're not one thing. So they're individual malevolent things. Archons have to do with the Gnostics and the idea that there was a creator of this place that wasn't fully within the faculties, especially of the faculties of wisdom and love. And, quite often it's looked at as being the Old Testament God, who was the eye for an eye God, tooth for a tooth God, in comparison with, well, even Jesus' God is very weird, why? I mean, it's very strange too, because, Jesus on the cross is quoted in most Bibles as saying, my God, why have thou forsaken me? But there are some people who say that that is a mistranslation, and that's not exactly what was being said. I don't know. Apparently, there's Father Ernetti's chronovisor, which is a gizmo that lets you look back in time. That might be held in the Vatican vault. You can also use time travel technology, and if you follow Andrew Basiago of Seattle, he talks a lot about Project Pegasus, which was the American government's way of going in, traveling through time. Corey Good also talks about having been in a time travel thing. It was called My Lab, where he went and worked for the government for 20 years, and then they age regressed him and put him back on regular planet Earth after he did his tour of duty. So I don't know. Anyway, I just wanted to talk about archons in particular. Archons are... How do you know if you're being attacked by an archon? It's psychic psionic attack. It's attack where they go directly after your body and they get into your mind. How do they do that? Well, I'm going to say synthetic telepathy. Synthetic telepathy is a technology that, it can do a lot of different things. Just look up synthetic telepathy and you'll find that it is a real thing and it can be done with technology. Real technology, real telepathy doesn't require technology. But, if you don't have it, you can create it, And microwave ovens were released to the general public in about 1975. So, that's a very long time ago. And, we heard last year that in Cuba they were using possibly microwave weapons against people in certain embassies. So, it's not like this technology is, it doesn't exist. It does exist. And Are there bad people on the planet still? Well, you have to listen to Colonel Cliff Serene on this channel, who does talk about the Draco reptilians. And then there's also the ones that are humanoid that serve the reptilian agenda. How many are there? Too many to count. If you work for a corporation, then indirectly you are serving the Draco Empire, believe it or not. Because everything to do with Babylonian money magic, in other words, just buying and selling of things, is at its root draconian. That's where the word draconian comes from. Draconian means someone who is very Machiavellian. You can look up Niccolo Machiavelli, who was the expert at advising the aristocracy and the kings and queens on how to rule people with an iron fist. His book was called The Prince, Niccolo Machiavelli. And if you read that book, you will see that, from, I think he was maybe the 1400s. So back in the 1400s, they had experts that taught people how to rule with iron fist. And if you've ever been in corporate America, you know that that is the way the CEO rules. And, he puts out his edict, and, either you conform to what his edict is, or you're out the door on your ass. So, and I've said before in previous lectures how corporations have no soul, they have no empathy, they are self-serving, and, they don't serve humanity. People say, well, they do things for you. No, they don't. They don't. They are all about profit. And if you see how wild these corporations have got in their chasing of profits, they don't mind throwing ethics out the window. And even though it's taught in business school, when the CEO says you've got to make your targets, we need more profitability, we need more bottom line, then things have to go. And it's either you do it or you're out on your ass, and they'll find somebody who will. So there's no soul, there's no empathy, there's nothing in a corporation that is going to counterbalance its drive for money, greed, dominance. These are all the things that you're taught in business school. You've got to dominate the marketplace. So that is all competition, and it has nothing to do with collaboration. So corporations are absolutely evil, and they cannot be fixed. They cannot be fixed as long as they are based upon shareholders and money. If you were to form a company of pirates, well, what are they all about? Well, making sure the pirates are looked after. And anyway, I'm getting kind of far away from the idea, but, perhaps in the Middle Ages, there were guilds. So if you were going to be a potter, you would join the Guild of Potters, and perhaps they would have, classes on how to do different types of pottery and keep the wisdom of the guild together so people didn't forget how to do pottery and what have you. So that's, a form of organization that is not based upon profit so much as we all do the same kind of work, and, we keep in touch with one another. So anyway, have anyone in your life been touched by archons? Well, you've certainly been touched by corporations, and everyone knows that the prices in your grocery stores and at your car dealerships and with your real estate agents have gone through the roof. I was just listening to King of the Road, the song, which was released, Roger Miller, in 1965, and you could rent a room for 50 cents. A one-bedroom apartment in Toronto, Canada is $2,500 a month, which is way more than you would make if you're working at minimum wage in the province of Ontario, in Toronto, for example. So if you are only, that's what you're being offered. The government says minimum wage, and you look at what you can get, You cannot live on minimum wage in Toronto, Canada, in rental housing. So why is that? Greed, 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 more than anything. And, and it's cyclical because everyone figures, well, when I retire, I've got to have a bunch of, passive income. This has been very common for the past 20 years. People told they have to get passive income. Well, what is that? It's basically you want to be a landlord, or you want to have a business that runs itself that you don't have to do anything with. Stocks and bonds, all of this stuff, so you can have a steady stream of money to look after you. Except if you're a minimum wage worker at the coffee shop, in which case, I don't know what you do. There is no solution. Then they say, well, they're going to build subsidized. There is far more people working for minimum wage than there are subsidized apartments. So, no, it's not working. What needs to happen? Well, besides the fact we have to throw away money, but my friend says, well, no one will do the dirty jobs if you don't pay them money. I'm not sure that's true. The worst job that was thrown at us was sewer worker. Someone who wants to work in sewers or something. Well, I guess going and collecting the porta potties or something. I don't know. I mean, people joined the Peace Corps and they weren't getting paid for anything. Sometimes they had to pay with their own way. So there are people who are willing to do things, without compensation. But if you feel like the only reason you're doing your job is for the money, get the hell out of that job. Because it's not making your heart sing. That's what I would say. And then you say, well, it's the only job that pays me enough so I can afford my one-bedroom apartment in Toronto. The Catch-22. That is called the Catch-22. Joseph Heller wrote the book, and Adam Arkin was the star of the movie, Catch-22, and that's exactly what it is. It's basically, you can't leave the system that you hate because you're still stuck in the system even if you try and exit. You can't exit the matrix. Well, this is just damnable. It's just damnable. How do you exit the matrix? How do you exit corporate America when they own everything? There's nowhere to go. You can't camp for free in national parks. You got to pay the government. And they're going to limit you how long you can go there. So there's no land. There's no more land for you to go to. What can you do? Well, I mean, how many people does it take that say we've had enough of this corporatism and we don't want to be ruled by corporations anymore? Everyone is fed up with politicians, but they have been. My whole generation is brought up with hating politicians, but it just took a long time for a lot more people to realize that there's no solution. And then I keep seeing people that say, well, Donald Trump, I know everyone thinks he's an idiot and an asshole, but you don't know the good part of Donald Trump. No, we don't. Are we going to see the good part of Donald Trump? I doubt it. I don't think he is going to turn out to have a silver lining. I'm Harry Weaver.